Welcome to Creating Better Products, where we explore the real world stories from product leaders, not just their successes, but also their failures and lessons learned. You will get practical tips that you can apply tomorrow. I'm your host, Sabrina Mach. I have almost 2 decades of experience and I love learning from others. This is why my mission is to share the stories of amazing product and design professionals with you and the world. And today, my guest is Andrea Bandera. He is based in Milan, Italy. And Andrea has over 20 years of experience in digital product management and delivery. And he started his career also as a software developer before finding his passion in the product space. And today, Andrea helps companies modernize their digital products and transform the product organization as a whole. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you for having me.
I'm excited to have you, Andrea, because today we'll talk about a topic that is complex but also really important, and that is modernizing a business. And Andrea, what brought you to the topic of enterprise modernization, bringing businesses into the modern world?
Yeah, every product, I think, in their life cycle will face a moment where they have to modernize themselves. They have to do a jump to get ready to new opportunities, new challenges to face and to be ready. And this is what, in my years of advisory and consultancy, uh, I've been dealing with many times with products, successful products built over decades, 20 years, even 30 years. At a certain point in time, need a major modernization to stay competitive in the market or actually to support a business a model evolution of their companies.
And by what you mentioned around the life cycle of a product, that many of those products have been created 20 years ago, sometimes longer,
Yeah.
sometimes shorter. And they're now reaching a point where these individual products need to be modernized, but also the company around that and how they're thinking about how they're creating
Okay.
products. And what was your journey into this topic? When did you start that first modernization engagement, and how did that start?
Yeah, actually, by chance, I found myself leading a product company that built a platform for a procurement platform that was able to manage RFPs, RFQs, all the processes of a procurement office in the public administration. So a heavily regulated market. And when I started leading this company, the platform had already wide adoption in Italy, but needed to scale to a different level to support the growth that the product was getting. But what I understood trying to lead the modernization of this product is that if you don't really deep dive on the ecosystem that actually generates the product, so the company, I means uh, how the decisions are taken, how priorities are defined, how what's the flow of the money in the company, you are not really able to succeed in modernizing products because it's often when we talk about modernization, there is an implicit assumption that we are just talking about adopting better technology, more modern technology stack, maybe more modern architectural patterns and approaches, maybe a more modern user experience for users. But these are just aspects of the product. If we do not uh, understand and change what creates the product, so the organization around the product, very likely, at least my experience taught me that it's very unlikely that you succeed in modernizing the product, because the old behaviors, the behaviors that brought the product in the current state, so in the state that with this gap that you want to fill with through modernization, will keep winning on any ambition of doing something more modern.
Yeah, and often when modernization is looked at, it is seen as a technology challenge. We need to modernize the product. We might even have to send on a system and create it with new technology. So sometimes this can be very, very technology driven. Especially as there might be also technology hypes that drive some of those need of
Yes.
change. But what you say is, or what I heard is, there is the technology aspect. Yes, one needs to modernize. And there is the second part that we really need to consider, that is the organization around that, how things work, the flow of money that you mentioned, people, their skills to help enable that complete modernization. I'm really curious, Andrea, around your journey or helping a client on that journey, where they started from the technology lens. How did you take them on that journey to realize, yes, we start with technology, that's the need you see, but then going the step further of looking at changing the fabric of their organization?
Yeah. So let me be a bit more specific, maybe in a recurring scenario of modernization needs that I found in my career. So, in my professional career. So, there are a lot of B2B products, so business to business products that have been built over years addressing large customers' needs or better requests. So, for example, I can explicitly mention I work with the procurement platform I was talking about before. I work also on video streaming platform. I work on luxury ERP systems. When you have the chance to work with very large customers that have a lot of money, there is a tendency to build products just implementing what they ask you to do. The problem, at least what I observed, is that there comes a time when, at least in the last 10 years, this business model, so having large customers, fully funding the development of the big feature, the critical feature of your product, getting less sustainable, because large customers started allocating less budget, so maybe it was not enough to cover all the development effort required. But also, I saw large customer looking for guidance outside from the market on more technical aspect. Let me be more specific. When we had the cloud coming in, and so SaaS services becoming a thing, uh, or when we had the power of data and all the information and insights that you get from data. Now there is generative AI. All those elements, the knowledge of how to leverage the full potential of cloud, of data, or any other new technology that was not in the large customers that those product company was serving. So the large customers were not able to drive on those topics, and they were looking for guidance outside. What it means that you, as a product company, if you are the product company that is used to build solution for them, you need to come with a solution already defined for them. You are no longer just listening from them what they need and implement it. You need to understand how you can use those technologies and to help them. So what I'm saying is that this way of building products, so building products for large customers, I saw it, this business model that is more like a sort of tailored custom software development, or it is heavily tailored product development, becoming being in critical situation in the last 10 years. So a lot of companies reaching out to understand how they can, for example, address new segments in the market, mid-size, small size companies, or how can they can start leading in bringing this innovation from technology trends. So this is when this is a huge change, because from a business, even if sometimes you think, okay, my product has been successful so far, I just need to adjust it from a technology point of view, from a user experience point of view, and it will work for any case I want him to work for. This is not true. When you change the target audience for your product, this is a business change, and you need to change how the organization that build the product works to be successful. Let me give you one single example for on a big change that I see for those companies that are used to implement requests from large customers. Usually the relationship with their customers is, I listen what you want, I try to understand it properly, and then I implement it. While if you need to be at the forefront, so you need to provide solutions to customers instead of implementing after the request, you need to really understand the need that they have and provide an effective solution for that. It means that you don't have to listen, understand, and implement, but you need to listen, deep dive on the real need that is behind what you hear, find a valuable solution. And when I mean valuable, it means that it really solves the problem of your customers, and then show them the outcomes that you can provide they can get with your solution. So you have to flip the relationship with your customers from a more executive approach, I listen, I implement, and I give you what you ask me, to I proactively try to understand what you need. I choose what to bet on, what to invest on, because I think the need I understood might get a better return on investment. So I might get more customer buying my solution. I implement a valuable solution, and then I start to sell it. This is a huge flip, and it's a big difference, because when you try to address, for example, mid-size or small-size company, they definitely don't have the understanding, the power, all the even the knowledge to lead a product company. It's you as a product company that has to lead the product development.
And it's it's that new segment that one addresses where that becomes necessary, from the large customer where you can probably afford to build that custom solution for them, to then having medium and smaller customers where it just doesn't make business sense. So here you really want to and need to create a product that you don't just sell once, but that you sell again and again. And for that, it's, as you said, looking at that need behind that. I would almost argue you also need to do that in the custom solution approach. I know that often doesn't happen there yet, because it is that mindset shift, right? Um, Companies who have until now built those custom solutions for big clients, they are customer centric, like you said, but it's more waiting, as understood, they're waiting for their customers to approach them and tell them what they need, versus now you have to go out proactively and understand what is that need and what is that product that we build around that, and where we bet on it and take, I guess, the risk in some way, right? Because in that custom solution you don't have that risk. You sign the contract, then you build it, whereas now it flips that around. So that's quite a big shift in approach, both for customer centric in some ways, but your business approach, your experimentation, how you invest in it, how you build it, and then how you think about scaling that and not just sending it once, that's a really big shift. And that's really interesting. um, how have you helped companies make that shift? So the observation that you have, I think, is really interesting to see what it is in that essence that companies then find hard, because it is a change. How do you help organizations go on that journey from custom software development, for, I don't know, the ERP solution for the luxury brand, for example, to now going into that product mode and creating something that they'll sell again and again?
Yeah, I think it's crucial to start in what I used to call connect with reality. So what do I mean is we need first of all, you have a customer base, okay, and I think you need to get all the value that you can get from your past experience. And the first thing that you can get is, let's measure how your product is currently used. Let's learn, because often when you just implement what your large customer asks you to implement, we know there is the 80-20 rules, right? Actually, only 20% of your software is actually used. This is so true in real life. So it's important to look at numbers. Look at numbers and look what are the most relevant features, relevant aspects of your product. And then, so first to look at numbers, but second, really talk to your customers and your users. Why? Because instead of just understanding how the feature should work, you really need to understand what's the job that your customers and users want to do. And this is so crucial in understanding if you are doing it well or not, or if you are providing the right value, the expected value for that. So I think the first step that I usually support and I lead with our customers, let's collect numbers, let's look at numbers, let's keep looking at them while we change, we modernize your product. But also let's start from there, but to deep dive in a more in-depth understanding of your users and customers and what they want to achieve. This is crucial to move from a feature, how it works, in why it should be there.
So I heard the first step is start measuring
Yes.
to understand where you are, and then take the next steps. And in that first step, what I hear, Andrea, is it is still very much focused on the product, where also the focus of the organization currently is. How do you then nudge them a step towards, we need to look beyond the product, to make the organization change so that we can create the products that will make that organization long lived?
Yeah. This is, I think you mentioned it before. One of the biggest challenges we face with companies, that successful companies that build product with large customer, is the risk aversion that they have. So when you implement what your customers ask, you are sort of in a safe position. Okay, it's just understanding. You have specific people to talk to. They can validate your understanding and so on. While when you get an understanding of the needs and you bet on some needs and solution that you're providing, you don't know if you'll be successful. So you move from a sort of safe situation to a more risky situation. The jump here is, how do I overcome this risk aversion? How do I bring in risk mitigation approach? So experimentation, hypothesis definition, experimentation, and first of all, research on top of it. And this is when I start talking with customer on how the organization should change. Because if you need to talk to customer, you are not used to do it. You need to bring in people that are able to do it. There are a lot of concern that talking to customer may expose the company, the product company, too much, that you show your weaknesses. But this is not true. This is something that when the customer experience the great value that you get from talking to customer, then they overcome this initial fear. But you definitely need to involve people, designers and product people that know how to talk to customer, know what to focus on, and know how to get insights that can lead them the product delivery. Another element. So first of all, you need new competencies in your company, because, and I want to call it out clearly, because this is a big misconception that I often experience. SMEs, so people with a lot of experience in that domain, are not necessarily the best people uh, to research on customer needs. SMEs tend to have a great understanding of the domain. They tend to know a lot of details, but we need here people that can navigate the uncertainty of human beings and understand their needs, their jobs, as we said, also their fears and concerns. So you need to empathize with the user. It's not about building the best picture possible of the domain. It's really understanding your user. So first, bring in new competencies. Second element is really how, I mean, often it's easy to imagine and to aspire to a great product. So when you want to modernize a product, it's easy to say, oh, I want it with a very modern user experience, the most modern architecture, the latest technology stack, performance, lightning performance, whatever. But how do you build a journey, a sustainable journey that brings you there? So is again, we go back on how do you build a big ambition into a strategy, into steps that are that you can go through, and where each step has that level of risk that we were talking about. So each step requires that you clearly focus, you clearly understand what are you betting on, and try to minimize those risks. So you need to understand, okay, where do I start from? So I have a lot of things that I can modernize. Okay, but what is the very first thing that I should focus on that can make the difference in the market, that my customers can perceive as a first step towards a more ambitious destination? And that step, what are the elements of uncertainty that are more risky for me and my business that I want to test first, to avoid to invest too much in the wrong direction? This is a mindset shift that leadership has to somehow um, accept, and actually more than accept, has to make real. So because leading a company that wants to modernize a product really means managing the risk. So I usually, another element that we do a company is to coach leadership in order to help them deal with risk and how to minimize risk, how to identify those risks, and how to manage them. Then it comes also, there are many other, we can talk for hours, I guess, on how many elements affect of your ability to build a successful product. But for example, we previously said you need to bring in new competencies in product management and design, strategic design, not only experience design. But then there is the problem, okay, how do I make them work effectively with technology? Because usually you have a technology department in your company, right? But they are used to maybe work a bit in isolation, not really being able on collaborate with other functions to shape a solution. And this is so working in a close collaboration and collective decision making, for example, are other crucial elements if you really want to modernize your product.
And the aspects that you mentioned resonate strongly with me, the cross collaboration, reducing risk by finding that first really valuable piece that you can release to customers. What I often find though is that in, instead of reducing risks and making people more comfortable with what we're doing, I sometimes see that it creates anxiety in people because it is so different to what they have been used to and what has made them successful in the past. I think that's one thing we shouldn't forget. It has been successful in the past to plan every single step really detailed, to have the full plan before you start something.
Yes.
And that's something I've also encountered, is that people want that full plan and commit to the full plan before doing anything. How do you navigate that? And how do you make people or help people feel a little bit more comfortable with only committing to that first small piece, to having a cross-functional team that isn't just technology but also has other capabilities in there? What has made you successful in nudging people there and making them feel comfortable and saying, okay, let's do an experiment and see what happens?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, you're absolutely right. And first of all, we need to acknowledge that every company that wants to modernize has a budget constraint that puts a lot of pressure, of course. So they have big ambitions and, of course, the budget constraint. So I think what I'm used to do is first, let's speak openly about money and the budget. So where the money are coming from and how much budget we have for modernization. Let's, we can have a session where we talk about ambitions and how is the ideal world that we want to do, what is the ideal modernized product that we want to build. Fair. We can dream big. But then let's look at numbers and constraints that we actually have. Then we really need to connect any initiatives that you want to have on the product with the business impact that we expect to have. And we definitely need to prioritize initiatives based on business impact. But, and this is again very crucial and sometimes underestimated, we can only have business impacts if any change that we bring to our product creates value for our customers. So somehow affect their behavior. So if we change something in the product, that change is able to change behaviors in our customers. So they are able to do something more, something better, something more frequently. That something that they do has a direct connection with our business. Having multiple conversations with multiple departments in the company, but also with customers, and this is the key understanding to start developing. So that's the reason why it's so crucial to talk to customers and also to have cross-functional team that so everyone involved. Because understanding if we do this, what's the expected impact on customers and what's the expected impact on our business? This is how we prioritize. This is how we try to figure out what is the first step to take. And then
Very
once you
cool.
identify something, you don't want to go with anyway, even if you think it's very promising as a feature. Anyway, you don't want to build it full right from the start. Maybe for us it's something very common, but in those companies maybe it is not. You always, even if you think that is the right problem that you're trying to solve, you need to test if you are able to build a great solution for that. So testing, and at any level, from low fidelity testing to more high fidelity testing, and really do testing with an open mind. You need to learn and seriously adapt if you get feedback that you need to change. This is crucial, really, to be effective in this journey, in identifying the steps, but then in how um, you actually execute on the step. And when you realize that the step you took is not promising as you were expecting, change it.
I love your point around connecting things back to business value, and that the only way to achieve business value is if we are making a change for customers. And I think that might seem like such a simple observation, but it's so easy to get caught up in all the internal conversations and processes and challenges. But really linking it back to what is the impact for customers? If we see a shift there, it creates value for the business. I think that's such a nice forcing function that brings clarity to thinking. And then the only way to see, are we really making that impact, is through that experimentation that you mentioned. Now, I'm really curious, in your journey, um, what was something that surprised you in a positive way, where you were like, wow, I didn't expect that. That worked really well. And at the same time, flipping this around, what was something where you realized, oh shit, where you thought this was a good idea, but it just didn't work?
Yeah, I think the what always is surprising me, but more than me, the customers, is when you start talking to customer, but talking really with the intent to explore their needs. So asking questions to really deep dive on their needs. There is so much to learn, so much to learn that even if you have a 10-year relationship with a customer and you think that you know a lot, and maybe actually you know a lot about them, but when it's very different if your relationship is more a sales relationship. So you want to you talk to them to find the right deals and to sign deals. When you start talking to them to really understand again their needs and the jobs to be done, there is a lot to learn. And I think when those insights start popping up, there is those this moment where everyone say, "Oh wow, I never thought that we could get such a valuable understanding on what they want to do and what they want to achieve." So it's really, I think this is a great starting point, and you get a lot of value in interviewing both customers and users. And the good news is that you don't have to do it with hundreds of it. Start doing with just a few of them. You will get you will start getting value immediately, and you will get more comfortable in keep talking to it. So definitely get the insights, the learnings that you get in talking to people are is the most frequent wow moment, let's say. They get the thing that is very very hard that I found it is really to break down the complexity. So it's so easy to dream big. It's so easy to think that if I could have the perfect product, then I can do anything I want. So it's what I'm trying to say is that it's too easy to focus on product delivery and not and getting clarity on the business strategy. That's the reason why I keep saying that modernizing a product, it's more modernizing a business, because it's if your business is facing a moment where your current business model is no longer sustainable, or soon it won't be sustainable or successful it was in the past, it means that you need to think deeper from a business perspective and understand how changing the target segments will affect your business, because it's not you cannot use the same business model of the past and expect to achieve different results in the future. So if your business model was, I have a large customer that are able to pay everything I do for them, uh, if you think that okay, it's the same with mid size and small size, I just need to find five customers with the same need. Nah. Finding that five customers that will buy the same solution requires a completely different approach in understanding the customer and so in how your organization works. So sometimes, again, not sometimes, I would say, when you think that your product needs to be modernized, it's okay, but think about why and how the business model is affecting your product, and how the change that you want to bring in your business model needs to be addressed as well.
By what you explain, it really shows how one really has to think deeply but also broadly around the product to make that transformation successful. Now, if someone is about to start on a journey of a product modernization or business modernization, what would be your recommendations on first steps that they can take, or to make sure that their first steps aren't locked into technology and that they can think more broadly? What tips would you have for those organizations?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely repeat myself on 3 points. So first, understand your current system better. If you're not measuring, if you let's do it and use this quantitative data that you can get from your existing products to understand which areas are more relevant for your business, and deep dive on them, talking to um, your customers to understand how you can do better, or so it's a way to find opportunities to improve, because this is one thing. But the second, actually, and I think most crucial, is you need to change your organization, bringing in new competencies on product management and design at leadership level. So before starting a modernization journey, I think something you need to realize is that the same exact company is unlikely that can produce something significantly different. You need, and I do not mean to undermine the great value that the company delivered and the success that had until now, that moment, but um, you need to bring new perspectives and new approaches. And I really believe the leadership in product management, when I say leadership, I mean people that can affect the strategy and can take decisions, uh, is really important. Also because there is developing products is really about collaborating with multiple functions, and this is something I definitely recommend to watch out, and then bring in someone that can talk, communicate, and effectively interact with sales, with marketing, with technology, that has already this mindset of collaborating. Usually, um, salespeople are really focused on their job, on signing a deal. We said that SME people are more focused on understanding in details the domain and more trying to build the more complete solution for the domain. Product specialists are too much familiar with how a product already work, or and they are not able to think freely about something different. And tech people often are a bit biased on building something great from a technology point of view. So I don't think these are good leaders in leading a modernization initiative, and that's the reason why I'm saying bring in new leaders in product management and design that can actually help you really go through this journey.
So you need those new leaders to bridge boundaries, go across functional layers, or bridging those silos and building that communication across. Um, and that's something that you say that's key for an organization to bring in to help really take that next step. Because if you keep the same leadership, it's hard to produce something that's significantly different from what you have done before, because you still have the old thought patterns, and you need to kind of break that a little bit or mix it up by bringing in those new leaders.
Yes, definitely.
If you are one of those new leaders that an organization has just brought in to do that, what would be your tips to those individuals?
First of all, very important, have a great respect and appreciation for the success that the company had. I mean, this is very important. This is usually, and this is something else. So, someone new comes in with the mission, with the responsibility to modernize something. And it's not that everything new is better than what's there, what has been there so far. Also, because usually, I mean, those are successful products. So, first of all, be mindful and learn about the past and leverage all the knowledge that the company has and the value that they generate. But as you said, at the same time, keep in mind that you are there also to challenge the status quo and how the company works. Because building a product needs a big change. The, the other recommendation I would do is that to look at the organization as something that keeps evolving. So do not look at it as something static. So you might start with some team structure, some rituals or way to engage other departments. But finding, I mean, first of all, they need to evolve over time anyway, as much as people start changing the way they work, and they get familiar with a new way of working. But also, in any phase of a modernization um, program initiatives, you have different goals and priorities. And think about the organization also as a way to achieve those goals. So it's not only about people skills, roles, definition, and responsibilities, but it's also about how you structure teams, their interactions, the decision makers, and this is very important. And the very last thing that connects with this idea of the organization as an evolving body, as an evolving thing, also people, of course, evolves. You need, as a leader, you need to be able to grow them. So it's a journey that you go through with all the people in the organization. So talk to people, listen to your people, deal with the problems that you will face every day, and really try to build this. There is, I never saw, of course, there is no ideal team that can comes in and say, okay, let's start modernization and let's go and do it. No, modernizing a product is always trying to understand what can be done in the ecosystem you are. So it's about uh, understanding the problems, the people, what is motivating them, what is taking them away from a change, and try to really stimulate the ecosystem to change. I think this mindset of a continuous evolution of people and the organization is important if you want to really modernize a system, a product, because actually the product is just the outcome of the system that builds it.
Really interesting. And I might fall into a small rabbit hole, but I can't resist the question. You are talking about a system, and I think that's really interesting. And I believe you're not talking necessarily about the software system, but you're talking about the system of people, technology, tools, interactions, and all the things that make that up as a system that changes and is adaptive. And how do we design our organization as a system, but also how do we design the organization as being part of a larger system that we interact with, and keeping that in mind too. So I think that phrasing is really interesting. Is that maybe just to ask, that is that intentional or was that accidental, the system
No,
wording?
no, it is intentional, as you said. So we need, I think, too often we thought that organization was something static or stable that somehow has some best practices. I don't know, for example, a functional organization that once you can adopt them and then you can use it over many years without looking at them. This is no longer true, actually. Maybe this never been true. But now, if you really want to build successful product, it's definitely something you have to avoid. So the ecosystem, the system, so the organization uh, is you have to work on the organization to impact also the product. So there is a strong connection between the product that you build and the organization that built it. And as you perfectly said, actually you should look at the organization even in the larger ecosystem of your customers, your users, your partners, and really continuously adapt and design in order to have the best, the outcome, so the product that you really want to have. So when you think about modernizing a product, is really given that product and organization are strictly coupled, think about modernizing the organization and changing the organization as well. Yeah, but yes, this system that we need to think in terms of systems to do that.
Yeah, fascinating. Thank you, Andrea. And one of my last two questions, and you might have touched on it already a few times, but I'm still curious. What principles have made you successful when doing those modernizations?
Well, first of all, I mean, modernization are a very long journey. So basically, you are never done. So you let's say you measure signs that you get along the way. Some of them are positive, some of them are negative. But the principle that I always try to follow, one, we already said, let's stay connected with reality. It means let's measure things. Let's talk to customers. Let's hear from directly from the people that use our product, how it works. And um, being very aware that it's not about giving them something that works, but giving them something that help them achieve their goals. This is a mindset shift from a delivery perspective, purely delivery perspective, that is so crucial to have. Um, we the second element is always look at the system if you really want to affect the product. So think of the product as the outcome of the system. This is the other principle that I try to always have in mind. So if you see something that is not working in the product, always ask yourself, this is the result of what? How this comes to, so, and go through the process, the people, as you said, the interaction, the decision making, understand how you can change that. Because anyway, usually you have to fix things. It is not really important to only fix that single thing, but that single thing is just the evidence of something that can occur multiple times if you do not fix the system that produces it. And the very last principle is start from the money. As we said, money, I mean, there is no excellent design, there is no experience design, there is no great tech architecture that wins over the revenue streams and the money. So always start from how do we make money? How can we start getting a return on investment on what we are doing as soon as possible? Because this is the biggest constraint on being able to do anything.
I love those principles. Thank you for sharing, Andrea. And now closing the loop to our topic, creating better products. Why is it important that product leaders, organizations think beyond the technology to create better products?
I think we we know. I mean, we see every day we use great products in our daily life, and what we need to realize that we can build great products, but only if we really understand what is valuable for our customers that affects our business. So I'm going back to this big principle of even if the problem that you observe is maybe obsolescence of your technology, so you observe some problems that you want to fix in your product, then start from there, but to understand, okay, what is the new value that I can create to my customers and that can affect my business? Because great products are really products that create value for your customers. It's not that just because it's a new technology, it's you're creating a new user experience that somehow looks like apps or web apps that are more modern, so you're using more modern systems, or then you provide new value to your customer. No, this is not true. And only value for your customer define successful products. So again, it's to me is very, very, very crucial to move to a customer-centric, a truly customer-centric mindset. So where you understand what your customers want to achieve with your product. Why, as they say in the jobs to be done approach, why they hire your product, to do what is that's important.
Yeah. And if we create value for customers, we create value for the business, right?
Yes,
Business value follows the customer value.
correct.
Thank you so much, Andrea. It's been truly inspiring, very, very interesting to hear from your experience. Now, as my final question, I always love to find out what are things that you would recommend people to read or listen to, things that have inspired you personally, either on enterprise modernization or product modernization or something completely different.
Yes, I thought about three books that I would recommend. The first one is called Working Backwards. Maybe you heard is Inside Story and Secrets from Inside Amazon from Colin Breyer and Bill Carr. The reason why I'm recommending this inspired me a lot on how you work on a vision for a product, how you detail a vision or product, how much you analyze and how much you again describe and discuss and deep dive on an idea before starting any implementation. This is important because if you remember, we spoke during this conversation about going back to the business strategy. It's not about expecting that your product is the ideal and perfect product, does everything. When I say be more specific in what you want to achieve from a business perspective, I think working backwards provides an approach in the, for example, in the PR and the press release tool that Amazon works that can be effective in guiding you in being more details and how you challenge your ideas and how you do them. The second book is Unlearn from Barry O'Reilly. This book, I think, has a very interesting concept, the idea of unlearn. So, unlearn means that you have to forget about something that you know to learn something new. And this is really about successful products that has been successful in the past that not necessarily are ready to be successful in the future. And how leaders need to understand that what made you successful in the past not necessarily will guide you to be successful in the future. And the concept of unlearning is so true. And this is so hard as well, of course, because we are all very attached to what made us successful. But it's a great book from actually a former colleague of ours, Barry O'Reilly. The very last, and this is, I mean, very well known book, but I thought to mention it, is Thinking Fast and Slow, okay, from Daniel Kahneman. The reason why I'm recommending this is because understanding how our brain works in decision making, or at least in decision, is so important. Important in understanding how your customers think, but also as a decision maker, which are the biases that affect your ability to take decisions. And this is really important because in product management, we spoke about bringing in new competencies, product management design, and I think it's a lot is about how you take decisions and being aware of the biases and how to minimize the chances that those biases affect your decisions is so important. Too often, I saw people falling into confirmation biases or many other biases that actually take you to the wrong route, and you are not identifying the assumptions or the hypotheses that you should validate, and you are taking risks that without knowing that you are taking risks.
Really, really interesting. I love all three books actually. So thank you for sharing. Um, Andrea, where can people find you?
Well, people can reach out to me on X or Twitter, as you prefer. You can find me with my handle is Dr. Baba. Maybe we can add it in the description of this video or even on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to connect with anybody and to discuss any topic among the topics that we discuss in this video or other topics in the product management space. I'm always happy to interact with people.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrea. It's been really, really interesting to hear about your journey and your experience. I love the principles that you've shared. I've got some sound bites that I'm definitely going to write in my things to remember notebook. So thank you for sharing. And yeah, thank you,
Thank
Andrea.
you very much, Sabrina.
And now a question to our listeners. What is your experience with driving modernizations in an organization? How do you modernize a product and take a broader view around that? What were your challenges along the way that you've encountered, but also what made you successful? Please share your experience in the comments or reach out to me directly. I would love to hear from you and maybe have you as a guest on this show soon. Finally, if you liked what you hear, please share this episode with your network and give us a like and subscribe in your favorite streaming platform. By doing this, you help to elevate the voices of our amazing guests and, in today's case, the voice and the perspective of Andrea. So, thank you for joining and see you next time.